This Sunday, the Rams carry the
fantasy star on our hands here, George. Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right, but I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who can move. Right? You don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps and throw the football anymore because you want that additional rushing yards. You know, you get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown. Right? That's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable. Right? You go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But, you know, I do have hope for him. I think at season's end, he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low-end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time, I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, that hit. Remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Thursday night throwdown has begun as the National Football League playoff countdown continues. It's starting to get real now that we're less than 48 hours away from kickoff. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans are getting 8.5 points, but they might not have Joe Mixon in this football game. Joe Mixon practiced yesterday as a limited participant. Today, he did not practice. He's been downgraded to officially questionable for this game. The Texans already in tough enough as it is. They're going to need Joe Mixon in their lineup. They're getting 8.5. The total sits at 41.5. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders and Detroit Lion game. A lot of excitement about this football game on Saturday night, prime time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. But there hasn't been a lot of line movement. The Lions got bet up to 9.5, and it settled in at 9.5, 55.5 right now. The Rams, similar situation. This thing's been locked in at 6 all week. No movement. Total 44. Meanwhile, we know the Buffalo Bills opened up as 1.5-point favorites. There's been a 2.5-point swing. The Baltimore Ravens are -1. At the most part, they're -1. Yet I can tell you there's a couple of books that have popped up 1.5s right now. The Baltimore Ravens -1.5. I think there's going to be a late buyback here with the Buffalo Bills. I think Bills backers are sort of, maybe wishfully thinking that it's going to get to 2. And especially teaser players are going to step up and in large here. We're playing the waiting game. I don't know how much longer we're going to wait. I will say, though, clearly the so-called pro and sharp money came in on the Baltimore Ravens in this football game. I think the casual money is going to come in on the Buffalo Bills on Sunday because the fact of the matter is most casual bettors, they don't bet the last game on the board first, right? There's going to be a lot of people, they're going to bet it after like the Eagles and Rams game or on Sunday morning. They're going to try to win some money first. It's sort of the pro bettors that move the numbers earlier in the week as we talked about. The late movement is basically the public. People look, there's a late move here. It's not sharp money. The sharp money is the early money. So, and listen, Paul Bovey is a pro and a sharp guy. He was with us last night. I don't know why the Buffalo Bills even bother showing up after listening to Paul Bovey. They got no chance. They can't stop the run. They're gonna lose to the Baltimore Ravens. I saw unnamed executive, The Athletic had predictions. Unnamed executive that the Baltimore Ravens are too physical for the Buffalo Bills. I guess time will tell on Sunday night as they save the best for last. Big time football game. But we got games to bet on tonight. And we got a bunch of guests tonight, too. We got a full house on the program this evening. But let's start off in the NBA. You got the Houston Rockets and the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are 4.5-point favorites in this game. And, it seems you could question, wow, it seems a little bit high. Right? The Houston Rockets are one of the best teams in the Western Conference. The Rockets did play last night. For the record, the Rockets are 3-4. They're 3-4 in back-to-backs. So it's not an automatic loss for them. But, it's sort of 50-50. I do think Sacramento are the play in this game. Now, Sacramento do play a lot of close games, right? But I think the Kings, they got something going on right now with Doug Christie for real. It's funny because it's ironically enough, we'll get to the Vancouver Canucks in a second, but very similar. Like, people like Mike Brown, and, he gets fired, and people, they're so sleazy the way that they did this, and, I don't know. Is there a good way to fire somebody, right? Oh, they did it after the practice or whatever. I don't know. I guess they could have done it in the morning before the practice. I'm not going to disagree with that, but there's never, like, a good time to fire somebody. But the same people that were crying about, the Sacramento Kings, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're a clown show organization. Well, they're 7-2 right now, right? And now it's like, Doug Christie's doing a great job. It was the same thing with Bruce Boudreau in Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks were struggling. Everybody loved Boudreau. He looks like Humpty Dumpty. He's a nice guy. Everybody liked him. Same thing. The Canucks fired him, like, I don't know, a week before Christmas or something. And people are like, you could have waited. Waited for what? Like, what are you going to wait for? If you know they're going to fire the guy, just fire the guy. And suddenly Rick Tocchet came in and did a great job, and they went deep into the playoffs. So it's amazing. People's opinions on things can change in a hurry in the sports world. So, so the Kings are 4.5-point favorites. Feels a little high, but the odds makers know what they're doing. So give me the Sacramento Kings in this game. Clippers, last night, guys, the Clippers won by 1 million points. Like, it was like the worst loss in net history. And that's saying something because the Nets have sucked like pretty hard over the years. And in fact, it was one of the worst like blowouts in NBA history. I don't know how the hell I want to bet on that game, taking the team in one of the biggest blowouts. I think off the top of my head, I think it might have been like the 4th biggest blowout ever. And we actually won a bet taking the Nets last night in the first quarter. That game was tied after the first quarter. It was literally tied. So the Clippers are in action again tonight. They're laying 7.5 against the Blazers. I've bet a lot of games tonight. Earlier, as you saw, I posted a lot of action tonight, so I'm not going to bet on every game, and this is one of the games. As the saying goes, they need to set a number for every game. We don't need to bet on every game. So I'm going to pass on the Clippers and Blazers. We laid the 4.5 with Sacramento. Do I love that? No. But as I stated, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockets did hit the wall in the in like the third and fourth quarter of this basketball game. We got a bunch of West Coast college basketball going on, starting in the late night hour. Some games have just started. Nothing like really, that's a great game. We can tell you that Washington State are off to a 13-0 start against San Diego right now. But listen, it's, to highlight the type of card that it is, Utah Tech are playing Seattle. That's right, like Utah who? Utah Tech. There's a lot of teams now. It's one of these nights. We do have UC Davis and Cal Poly. Pepperdine and the Dons are in action. Pacific and Portland. So as I stated, it's a late night degenerate special night. We'll find something for the degenerates because we're a degenerate in the late night hours here in game. But NHL hockey, the Vancouver Canucks got lit up the other night by the Winnipeg Jets. All right, like it was a beatdown, and tensions are a little bit high with the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think they're as high in the room as it is in the media, right? The media is trying to burn this thing down. I don't think the players are in some sort of full-out panic, and everybody knew that the Canucks were in a bad spot the other night against the Winnipeg Jets. I tweeted before the game. I said, it's a horrible spot, by the way, for the Vancouver Canucks. So I didn't take them. I expected them to lose. to the Winnipeg Jets. But they lost, they were down early. They got lit up. It was 6-0. They scored a late goal, but they got embarrassed in the game. And once again, we're right back to rinse and repeat. Everybody panicking and the media flipping out. Yet, whatever, dude. The game before, they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-0 in Toronto. Right? So, with all that being stated, even though they were in a bad spot the other night, this is a gut check game here tonight for the Vancouver Canucks. It's up to them. As much as the media has overblown things inside their locker room and exaggerated things and caused drama, the Vancouver Canucks themselves haven't done a good enough job of putting that fire out. They let it fester in the media before they said anything. And if they would just go on like a 4 or 5 game win streak, everybody would shut up and be happy again. But they haven't done it. They've been inconsistent. The Kings aren't an easy out, but I think the Vancouver Canucks step up tonight in a pretty big game for them on home ice. And they've been underachievers on home ice as well. So, like the local fans are getting upset at spending money to watch the Blues at home. They're better on the road. Let's take the Canucks, minus 115. Let's roll.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. The Thursday night throwdown has begun. SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. I am Gabriel Morency. We got a full house on the program tonight. A lot of stuff to get to, including Major League Baseball win totals were posted this week. And, just like 2 days ago, 3 days ago with books. So basically this week, we've been caught up in football mode. We briefly brought it up the other night and talked about a few of them, but we'll get into it a little bit more in depth a little bit later on this evening. But, of course, it's a big football weekend with the NFL playoffs and a national championship game on Monday night. Let's bring in Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News college football analyst, Brent Beard in the house. Brent, good to see you tonight. How you doing, Brent?
I want both of you and Cam to know as soon as Chino, our mascot here, heard your voice, he jumped down from the bed, ran into the room here, and got ready to be a part of it.
Well, we got the Irish and the Buckeyes. Unfortunately, no Cats. Maybe we'll have the Bobcats or Wildcats one day for Chino.
Yeah, really.
In the championship game. But good to see you, Brent. And hey, Chino, good to see you, buddy. Countdown's on. Before we get to the championship game, Brent, Jaden Daniels has really taken the NFL by storm. You look what he's done for this organization and the Washington Commanders. I think Dan Quinn's presence has, it's been a combination. Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury has done a great job with Jaden and Jaden himself, but you saw him firsthand covering the SEC, and he's just such a laid-back, calm dude. He's just got ice in his veins, doesn't he, Brent?
Yeah, he really does. I mean, he's just one of these. He reminds me a little bit of Johnny Manziel. Probably a little calmer, but he is a true dual threat. I mean, we talk about dual threats, don't we, guys? But this guy is so dangerous because you don't know what he's capable of doing at any time. So what we saw him do at LSU, his talents are even more in vogue with the NFL. He is amazing, to say the least. Yes.
What's amazing to me is all these, it's almost like every quarterback now is coming from California again. Mm-hmm. And, even though like they all come, like it appears like they're from the SEC or something like that, right? Or, like CJ Stroud, all these, and Bryce Young, like Pasadena, like all these kids, they're all, it's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. One after another. And here's another one too. With Jaden Daniels from, like I talked about, he's kind of got that laid back. He's got he's got confidence, but he's a laid back kid from Fontana, California. So, Brent, what do you think of the NFL playoffs this week? We got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels against the Detroit Lions. We got some great games this week.
We do. I still like the Lions. I still like the Bills. I will say this though. And I saw him I'm going to say this because I actually saw him in high school. Derrick Henry, as you know, played at Yulee High School here where we are in the Jacksonville, Florida area. And I mean, every level that he has played on and played with, he just demolishes defenders, carries them on his back virtually. I don't know. I'm not saying that Derrick Henry is Jim Brown or Barry Sanders, but in his own way, Cam and Gabe.
He's pretty close.
He's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he really is, and absolutely.
He is a load to deal with, and if there's one sort of weakness to the Buffalo Bills, or I should say a soft spot. I don't know, weakness, strong word, but a soft spot in their defense. It is, they're like a lot of modern defenses. They're built for speed. They're not built to stop a power running game. And the Baltimore Ravens have that power running game. And then you got Lamar Jackson as well. But Jaden Daniels, they kind of, he's almost like Lamar Light, actually, right? He gets rid of the ball so quickly. And the thing with Jaden is he makes such very good decisions for a young player. Mm-hmm. That's like one thing that Dan Quinn's talked about that I don't, like, they've never once sort of, like, they've never once held back as far as the playbook is concerned. Right. Or, wow, he's a rookie, so let's not go for it on fourth down. As you see, they'll go for it on fourth down. And Quinn says, he always just seemingly makes the right decision.
I don't care what level of football you're on. If you're a quarterback, if you're accurate and you make good decisions, you're going to play for a long time. And then you put his legs with that, and he makes it even more dangerous. But that's the thing that I see from him, guys. I'm curious if you see the same thing. Is look, he doesn't do a lot of dumb things. I mean, a lot of these guys now, they can throw the ball 70 yards, but they can't throw 3rd and 7 and complete it. But this
and
is
he doesn't
a guy,
get rattled in the red zone there, Brent, too. Like, remember the plays he's making at the back of the end zone at the end of games,
Yes.
finding Ertz and McLaurin, Gabe, and all these other guys. He's getting Brown, the receiver from North Carolina, involved. He's just very.
That is a weakness for them, though. He came up with one play in the back of the end zone, but they had like 8 cracks at it. There were pass interference penalties. They had like one shot after another. It's the one thing, though, with Kingsbury. Short yardage situations, that sort of spread offense, you get him in a tight spot. Earlier in the year, Brian Robinson Jr. would just sort of find his way into the end zone. He hasn't been recently. Like, for whatever reason, like, if you'll notice, Robinson Jr. has kind of faded, guys, over the last month or so. Anyone that plays props or fantasy, et cetera, knows this. And, but they do have Eckler here. I think it's going to be a fun game. Like, like you said, Brett, Detroit are probably going to end up winning because Detroit are the real deal. You want to talk about another SEC player? How about Jahmyr Gibbs? Like, this kid's unbelievable right now.
Well, listen, he was that way at Alabama. Gibbs could really do a little bit of everything. He could return kicks if he needs to do it. He's great on you can just toss him the ball and toss sweep. Very, very underrated guy. And versatility is his strong point in his game.
Here's another SEC back that's having a great year and could have a big impact on this football game this week, guys. People are talking about it, but James Cook, Brett, Georgia Bulldogs, with the Buffalo Bills. He's looked absolutely awesome as well. More of Brett Beard, Cam Stewart on the other side. The LA Kings up 1-0 on the Vancouver Canucks.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. What he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The Thursday Night Throwdown continues. Tommy Lorenzo will join us following Brett Beard this evening. As I stated, we got a full house on the program. Julio Rosario from Colorado in the Denver area steps up and in tonight. George Kurtz from the island, Long Island, throws it down. We're getting some baseball futures with George Kurtz. So we got Brett Beard in the house right now. And Brett, last week we talked about Carson Beck, and there was talk. Texas Tech. Like, we all sort of thought that Miami were going to be the team. It seems to make sense. Miami brought in Cam Ward last year. They got NIL money. And, oh, yeah, by the way, his girlfriend goes to Miami. So a lot of people were thinking Miami. But there was talk that Texas Tech had an offer on the table. Like, the Texas Tech had some money, and they floated it out there. But I don't know if you saw the report, Brett, but there's a report that Alabama actually behind the scenes was interested in Carson Beck. What do you make of that? And what is the Alabama quarterback situation going into next year?
Now obviously Jalen Milroe going to the NFL. I think that was a mutual decision on the team's part and his part. Now, number 2, Ty Simpson, who you probably heard that name before.
He's been there for years. Yeah,
he has. Yeah, he's been there for about 3 years, so he knows. Even though he's had a lot of offensive coordinators, he knows the system. He's got a good.
But he's not a DeBoer guy. He's not a DeBoer guy, though. He was already there, though, right, Brent?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, they've got a true freshman coming in. He was in the recent All-Star game. Matter of fact, they've got a couple of quarterbacks in that quarterback room. So I'm not real surprised they tried to at least check on some interest. I do think in some ways Georgia wanted him back. But look, they were pretty happy guys with Gunnar Stockton. Even though they lost the last playoff game to Notre Dame, they thought Stockton in that offense did okay. So I think they're pretty happy with him. My concern for Carson Beck going to Miami is, I mean, obviously Cam Ward is gone, but Martinez, the running back, is gone. Xavier Restapro is gone.
That offensive line was all veterans too. It's a good point.
Yes. So
I don't know, Brent. I got to be honest. My deal with Carson is I think he's a good kid and a good quarterback, but I'm not a fan of having some sort of celebrity girlfriend and stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
And, and picking your career because she goes there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you about winning a football game? What are we doing here? Like, what's your end game? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The videos, just sort of the lack of intensity for me. I'm not saying the kid can't be successful. Let me ask you, though, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you heard. So Quinn Ewers going to the NFL. There are reports that Quinn Ewers was offered $8 million to play in college. By who?
Yes.
Who? Do you know, Brent? By who was going to pay him?
That's a great question. I don't know that, but look, the question mark. There's still some question marks about consistency. There are a little bit of question marks about how healthy that he's going to be. But I think like Gunnar Stockton with Georgia, that Texas was ready to move to Arch Manning. It was time to start that. It was time to give that quarterback room a shot. But no, I've seen the same thing you and Cam have seen, and I've seen an obscene amount of money. Now, a lot of times this amount of money is not very accurate. It just looks good when we talk about it. But I don't have any doubt that some of these schools were willing to pay top dollar to get him to come in and play another year.
Yeah, a lot of the deals are for years. Like you've heard $10 million and stuff for Underwood. Yeah, if he stayed for 4 years, like it's really like $2.5 million per year. But I don't really get it. Look, Mensa. I mean, we talked about it. Remember, Cam? I brought up if Mensa from Tulane got $8 million, like if I'm Underwood, I almost want to renegotiate with Michigan. Like I'm like, listen, like the kid from Tulane just got $8 million. Like I got to be worth 12. You know what I mean? Like,
how much does
can you imagine, guys? $8 million now, college. Like it's amazing. You don't even have to go to the pros to be a multimillionaire anymore. You're just making the college football now.
Is Pavia getting money, NIL money, Gabe, or did he just transfer to Vanderbilt from New Mexico State? Because that kid's the real deal.
He will.
Yeah, he deserves.
He will.
Money.
Well, he's a grinder and stuff, but he's not. He's like, he's for sale. Like he'll end up on Barstool or something like that, Cam. Like a Barstool sponsorship.
Really?
No, I don't say that in a bad way, but no one's giving the kid $4 million. You know what I mean?
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Just as far as Diego Pavia is concerned, I guess NIL, I'm thinking, I mean, the kid's so old, AARP might be in play for him. I mean, like, he's like what, like, you know what I mean? What NIL can he get? It's like, I don't know. The kid's nearly 30 at this point. I'm all kidding aside, but I like how Sark called him out, too. If you guys remember, do you see that, Brett? Yes. The day after, like, he won his case, Sark said, he said, college is supposed to be for kids, man. He goes, this is ridiculous with all these players staying like 7 and 8 years. There was one guy I saw, he retired the other day. He was crying. He played 9 years. Yeah. I don't know how, like the kid on Miami, like there's a kid. It's like, dude, he was like, you wanted more. It's like, bro, it's like Fred Flintstone going back to college. Like, you're not allowed here anymore. You're too old. Like,
listen,
unless you're coming back like you were a prisoner of war or something and, you're in your 40s and it was your dream to play football, we'll make exceptions. But I'm with Sarkisian. I don't like this, guys. I don't mind, like, if a kid breaks his leg, but all this, like, some of these dudes, man, they're staying until they're 27 and 28, Ken.
Oh, yeah.
And Brett, it's too much.
Well, and listen, to your point, there's a kid named Jalen Catalon who started in Arkansas. He was a star there, went to UNLV, and now he's at Missouri, and this will be, Gabe, this will be his 7th year coming up. 7th.
And what about Cam Rising? He's coming back again.
Rising?
Dude, wow. Cam Rising, guys, is the same age as Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, they played in high school, guys, at the exact same time. So, like their careers, like, like high school senior, same year. High school junior, same year. College, Trevor Lawrence, NFL, and there's Cam Rising. I am coming back to Utah. Like, if I was Kyle Whittingham, I'd be like, listen, I love you, Cam, but it's like, we're moving on, bro.
Right.
You've eaten up 8 years of quarterbacks. Like,
back to school. Diving team. Yeah, wow. That guy's unreal. So you're telling me they're the same, him and Lawrence are the exact same age? And Lawrence has he has many years of NFL experience. Wow. Cam Rising's amazing. Got to hand it to that kid.
Well, Cam Rising doesn't want to get a real job. This is the real. He knows he's not going to. He's just like resistant. Like,
Enterprise, rent a car. He doesn't want it. Stay in school.
Well, and guys, here's what's happened here. You remember everybody was given a COVID year, and then you redshirt a year, and then if you go 4 years, I mean, that's 6 years right there. If you have some kind of and some of them have been hurt, and they've got an extra year of eligibility. So, I mean, Gabe's right. And some of these coaches they've complained about that. They said, look, we don't want to be coaching guys when they're 27, 28, 29 years old.
That's great.
What a world. Yeah. Okay, so national championship game, Brent. I think they've stretched this out too much. They've got to adjust this.
Yes.
Some of the ratings weren't as good as they would have liked either, due to I like how they conceded. They don't want to go against the NFL again. They learned their lesson.
Right.
So they don't want to go against the NFL again.
Right.
But, I mean, it used to be over, on January 1st, and then it was okay, maybe January 7th, 8th, 9th. Now January 20th is really drawn out, Brett. Yeah. But, we've all had time to think about this game, and as I think about it more, I just don't see how Notre Dame are going to keep up with Ohio State.
I agree with that. I really do. Now, the way they will keep up if they have a chance to win the game is, again, as we talked before, they lead the country in takeaways. They have 32 takeaways. These are the two best defenses. Ohio State only allows 11 points a game. Notre Dame allows like 14 points a game. But I'm with you. Notre Dame can't chase points. That's one thing I've learned from both of you is if they get behind 10-0, 14-0, it's probably going to be over at that point, and they've got to be able to contain Jeremiah Smith and these guys. Now, let me mention this real briefly, Gabe.
Well, look at what Texas did, Brett, right? Look, Jeremiah Smith had one catch for like 3 yards.
Yeah,
but they really nullified them, and then the Tate kid burnt them, and the other guys, Ibuka stepped up and burnt them. They're so deep, Ohio State.
And listen, this is something to watch out for. There's a meeting on Sunday. The game's on Monday. But there's a meeting on Sunday of the commissioners and the committee. And they're going to be talking about some things such as, do the top 4 seeds need to be conference champions? Does the extra time off from a first-round bye give the higher seeds an advantage? Now, Gabe just mentioned this, and this is important. Guys, think about this a minute. Georgia won the SEC championship. They played the first weekend of December. They did not play again in the playoffs until basically the 1st of January, guys.
We see it in baseball. We see it in baseball every year. The teams that win the divisions always get bounced after because the other teams are hot and they're not cold. Yes. They're coming in. You haven't played in forever. That's why, as a Bills fan, I'm praying that the Chiefs are cold and get eliminated. They haven't played in here for 3 weeks.
Come on, Houston, jump all over them.
So I'm kind of hoping. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe somehow they're really rusty, but probably not. Like, not the Chiefs. Not the Chiefs. But I know there's a lot of talk, as you say to Brent. I think they are going to adjust the seeds and the bye weeks. Yes. I think we can just get after it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at this, guys. Like the NFL. Look, they got a bye week, for the Super Bowl. And that's really more so just to build up the hype and to have the media week and all that. They could play the following week, right? But if you look at it, if you look at college, it's almost like there's a bye week after every game, Brent. So it's like we have our first round. It's like, all right, we'll see you in 10, 11 days, and we'll play the next round. Okay, we'll see you in another 10 days.
Yeah.
And now this one is like, oh, God, all right, we'll see you in 11 days again. I think it loses its momentum. Although I tell you what, it's a freaking hot ticket. It's like $2,000 to get into that stadium.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a really hot ticket, the national championship game. But ultimately, are you picking Ohio State to lift the trophy, Brent?
Yeah. I just can't get away from it right now. I'm with you. I just don't see how Notre Dame can score. I mean, now they can run the ball. But there's not a great passing attack there. I'm not saying that, but look, I give them credit. They've run the table. That defense and their special teams. Remember, they ran a kickoff back for a touchdown against Georgia. If you could get something like that, I think it's possible. But guys, the reality is, that is my biggest concern is if Ohio State breaks out early, Cam and Gabe, I just don't see Notre Dame being able to keep up. I really don't.
I just can't believe that it's come full circle that, remember Ryan Day called out and basically called out 102 years old Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
Hey, Lou, why don't you get off the couch? What do you think of that? Hey, what do you got to say now, Lou Holtz?
Right.
And here we go now. They're playing in the championship game.
They are.
Lou Holtz was saying I wasn't going to go to the game. Or I'm going to drag my old body there. He goes, I'll be there. He's like, I'm going to figure out a way of getting there. And ultimately, even if Ohio State win, it's still going to bother them they didn't beat Michigan. So that's going to be my solace. If Ohio State win, and it looks like they probably will. Brent Beard, great to catch up with you, Brent. Awesome stuff. NFL draft and college football all-star games coming up here, too. We didn't even get to Deion Sanders. We got 30 seconds. Deion Sanders, do you think he's going to be the coach of the Cowboys and leave Colorado?
Can he turn it down? I mean, is he going to be able to get along? Yeah, is he going to be able to get along with Jerry? But look, that's an opportunity of a lifetime, guys. And another thing is, does Freeman go to the Bears? I mean, there are a lot of things to look at here.
That's some wild stuff, Freeman, to the Bear talk.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. It's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. Thanks to Brent Beard for joining us, one of our SEC college football insiders and guests, Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News college football analyst. Always fun talking college football with Brent. And, as far as college basketball is concerned, a big hot topic of conversation as well amongst the committee. They're debating it now. They want to expand. The question is, some of them want to go to 72 teams. Some of them want to go to 76. In the NCAA tournament. And just quickly, it's funny, I saw that the Power Four commissioners want they want more input as to who gets into the NCAA tournament. So it's not your tournament. Like the NCAA runs it. You get invited if you get invited. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is like there's a big power grab going on here right now. And we didn't get into it with Brent because no one cares about the legalities of this stuff. But I don't know, dude. I saw something today about Congress getting involved with NIL stuff. And it's the last thing college football needs is government involvement, in my opinion. Just let the market play itself out. It'll organically even out here, all this NIL stuff. But it's the schools themselves. They're getting scared because they're already paying players $8 million. Just imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years if it's at this rate. Like, literally. Be like the Michigan starting quarterback's going to say, yeah, give me $20 million a year to play here. Like, it's getting crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Let's bring in another high roller with deep pockets. Tommy Lorenzo.
You sure you got the right guy?
That was good.
How you doing, Tommy?
Hey, Tommy.
Doing really well.
Any late night action for you? Current action? We got NBA, NHL, and college basketball going on. You got any plays rolling here?
Looked at the college hoop slate. Didn't see anything. You know, I'm actually knee deep in all the NFL stuff for this weekend. I'm dissecting, looking at stuff, and that's really occupying my time right now.
What do you guys think about Oregon State getting 9.5 against Gonzaga? They're hot, Gabe. Take a look at the Beavers. Chomp, chomp, chomp. They're playing really good. Real good.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of points, and I don't. Gonzaga, this is a good Gonzaga team, but Gonzaga are finding themselves in a lot of close games. But I'm sort of like you, Tommy. I hit, last night, what do we hit? We hit some college. Tonight I went 3-0 in college earlier. Not by forcing it. I looked at the card. I'm a Michigan fan. I thought the game was going to go over. It went over. And I thought Temple +7 was a live dog tonight. They won the game outright, and I took the over in a Temple game. And then the West Coast stuff, nothing really jumped off the screen at me. I did lay the 4.5 with the Sacramento Kings. They're leading 53-42 right now. That was sort of the weird number trap of the night. And the Vancouver Canucks, we talked about disappointing their home fans and not being ready to play. Well, they're losing 3-0 after the first period of play. Rick Tocchet called a timeout about 6 minutes into the game and started flipping out. Now they really are going to start to have problems. Like I said off the top, you got to give the media and the fan base a reason to forget about past stuff. And all you got to do is win a bunch of games, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, and everybody's happy again. But you come back home after a humiliating 6-1 loss, and now you're down 3-0 after the first period of play again. And I wanted to change. We'll get to the hockey after camp. But another thing is Thatcher Demko just came back tonight. All right. He's not as good anymore. I'm just going to call it out for what it is. Like, somebody's got to say it. I'm going to say it.
True.
I didn't want to use that as an excuse. Well, it's his first game back again. He's slow. Like, he's a step behind everything. It's not like and I'm not blaming him, but the guy hasn't played a lot of hockey in a year. He's coming off a weird injury. And, he comes back and then he gets hurt. He comes back and he gets hurt. There's no rhythm of this. And quite frankly, when he plays now this year, they lose.
Yep.
Like, every time Demko starts, they find themselves in these high-scoring, early holes that we've seen tonight. So they are down 3-0. So, Tommy, what's your own personal take, Dr. Lorenzo? Joe Mixon, does he play or not? He was limited participant yesterday. Yeah. Today, he didn't practice at all. So, he doesn't need to practice, but he was downgraded to questionable. What's your take on Mixon?
As long as his leg doesn't fall off, I think he will play. I think he'll be in there. I think they're just being, cautious with him. He's a big part of that offense now. They're going to need him. That's for darn sure if they want to keep pace with KC. Not that KC offensively is going to, run away with it, in my opinion. I think the Texans defense will show up at KC and keep things interesting. But, yeah, the Texans – with Tank Dell gone, he had a good game against the Chiefs in December. I think they're going to need all their offensive weapons, and Joe Mixon's part of it. I think he'll play, though.
Yeah, one thing with Mixon, too, he really helps in the red zone. He's one of those backs that just he finds his way into the end zone. If you're on the 6 or 7, he's not the type of guy who's going to give you 140 yards, but he's also the type of dude that you don't know what you have until he's gone, right? And when he's not there, you're like, oh, boy, we need Mixon. I'm with you. I think, listen, the defense, I talked about it last night, guys. We've been talking about it. The Chiefs give up 19 points a game. The Texans only give up 21 points a game. It's easy to forget because all these years get merged in, but the Texans had a 24-0 lead in the playoffs at Kansas City in 2019, right? Like, they've been in this spot before. They've never gotten past this, though, Tommy. They've won 5 times in the wild card round, the Houston Texans, in their organization history. They've never found a way to get past this and get to the conference championship game. Do you give them a chance to win the football game? Do you give them a chance to cover the point spread? What are your thoughts?
I don't see them winning this game. I think KC will take care of business. But as far as the point spread goes, I give the Texans a very good chance, given that this line's up to 8.5. I do. Now, here's the thing. They were underdogs last year in their wild card game against Cleveland by the same margin, 2.5, 3 points, blew them out. Same situation with the Chargers. They came into town. Texans, again, underdogs by 2.5, 3, beat the Chargers by 20. But then, what happened last year, they went into Baltimore and they got boat raced. Their offense didn't show up. But I think their offense is a little better than it was last year. C.J. Stroud has another year under his belt. And, KC doesn't blow people out. And maybe eventually they will. Isaiah Pacheco's back healthy. Andy Reid's had an extra week to prep for the Texans. So I would expect KC to be ready. But I think, covering that 8.5 is a little too much to ask.
Tommy Lorenzo in the house with us, and we'll hit the Lions and the Commanders on the other side. I got to tell you, Cam, all these dogs, really, they're very tempting. Although they all feel like dangerous bait car arrests waiting to happen. But they're all, it's very tempting. You know what I mean? You're like, man, 9.5, even the Rams, +6. But then you say Rams could get blown out.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
They're looking to light the beam tonight in Sacktown. And Sacktown's rocking, I got to tell you. You know what I mean? I'm going to call it right now, as far as, cities that are going to start popping off and stuff like that. Sacramento. They've got, their basketball team is pretty good. They've gotten clearly a spark from Doug Christie right now. They have Major League Baseball there for the next 3-4 years, or maybe longer, however long it takes them to build that stadium in Las Vegas. So they got a baseball team. Sacramento State University, their football program, has raised upwards of like $80 million now for stadium and conference moves. So yeah, Sacramento is banging, and Tommy's a Dodger fan, such as myself. And I already looked, Tommy. I feel bad for Oakland, so I don't want to pile on and like celebrate that they're gone, because I'd prefer if they were still in Oakland. But with that being stated, I did think, you know what? I'll go to a game in Sacramento. I'll go see the Dodgers play against the A's in Sacramento and have some fun in that small stadium. But unfortunately, the A's go to Dodger Stadium this year. They don't play on the road. But I'll go to Sacramento down the road.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, cheap Southwest flight from SoCal. You can get right up there and catch a game. I may do that too. I mean, it's going to be an intimate, atmosphere there in that stadium. And, you got to check the schedule to see what good teams roll into town. It'll be interesting to see how long they stay there, though.
It's going to be interesting to see how the odds makers adjust the totals, too, and handle the totals in that stadium. I'm thinking they're probably just going to come all out like sort of Coors Field-ish, like 12.5, 13.5. We'll see how it plays out, but it is a sandbox, this stadium, and you got the desert heat. It's hot as hell. The ball travels. Players, we talked about it last year, players that have played there before all said like that, every game they played in was like 15-12 and stuff in the minors when they play. It's almost like those Reno games and the Salt Lake City games. It's good to bet the over in that stuff. Okay, so speaking of overs, 55.5, Tommy, for an NFL playoff game. I'm going to look it up right now. I don't know off the top of my head. I should. I'm thinking, I kind of remember a Super Bowl or two at like 56.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But 57.5 maybe a Super Bowl. But this is like amongst by modern era, this is like as high as it gets for the playoffs, man. 55.5.
Well, you got two great quarterbacks, and you have a Lions defense that's perceived to be banged up and, dependent completely on Jared Goff and their offense to go. You got David Montgomery back. He's big in the red zone. So, you're going to pick up some points there. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't blame anyone from taking the over, but that number is just way too high for me, even though I do think points will be scored. Getting up into above the mid-50s, that's a lot to ask. Jane Daniels did great last week at Tampa. But, what Washington did, and I think they need to do against the Lions too, is keep the ball out of the Lions' hands. It's what they did with Baker Mayfield last week. Tampa Bay didn't have the ball much, and that's what, allowed them to stay in the game and win. So kind of mixed signals there for that total, but 55.5 is pretty high.
I got to pat myself on the back when I said, I think there was a 57.5 in the Super Bowl before. Bad flashbacks here, though. You're not going to like this one, Cam. New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl. The total was 57.5.
It was
the final score, 13-3.
3. That's right. We're like
brutal. 57.5.
Oh, yeah. Me, you, and Corey at the SportsGrid headquarters.
I remember going down, too, betting in-game. No, it's got to go over 28. It's got to go over. Tommy, we lost. I must have lost like 12 in-game bets. I was like, there's no way it's not going to go over 24.5. Like, click. Again, over and over. And then,
when you said that number, I was thinking, the Steve Young Super Bowl. I thought maybe one of those Niners Super Bowls.
That's wild. It was that one. These are just for the fun sake of it. So 2 years ago, the Chiefs-Eagles was 50.5. Bucks and Chiefs. How about this one? Bucks-Chiefs 2021. Total was 56. Final score 31-9. But the highest total ever. So that's what I was saying, guys. Like, as far as this is one of the highest totals in postseason history. It is. Like, look at the Super Bowls, 54.5, 57.5. The 57.5 was the Rams one. And then you go all the way down here. That's it. And we had 53.5 was the highest one before that.
For regular totals, 4 of the top 6 are in 2018. The highest, Rams versus Chiefs, 63.5 was the total. November 19, 2018. Out of the top ones, all of them are in 2018 and 2000. Crazy.
There should be noted, too, weather's not a factor here. This game is indoors. All right, more with Tommy Lorenzo on the other side. Let's roll. This is SportsRage.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. We're kicking it with Tommy Lorenzo, Cam Stewart, and house George Kurtz will step up, and then Big Card Julio a little bit later on. So the Washington Commanders, this is an interesting little twist to this game. The last time the Washington Commanders made the conference championship game, or the Washington franchise, etc., 1991. Who do they beat? The Detroit Lions. If you guys recall, the Detroit Lions had that nice playoff run. They beat up on the Dallas Cowboys. Scott Mitchell, Wayne Fonts, of course, was the coach.
Love that.
And then, Washington, a little bit of symmetry here. What about this one? Because if put it this way, if we're talking ourselves into Houston plus 8.5, it's hard not to try to talk yourself into Washington at plus 9.5. The Lions are badasses, though. They are relentless. And, Campbell isn't going to play it safe. They're going to attack. Jameer Gibbs has really come on. And, by the way, everybody, David Montgomery is back. Tough little son of a bitch. People, he's going to be out for the year. He's back. So Montgomery has been cleared. They're just loaded at every position. They're well coached. They're hungry. They've got that fire lit right now. But 9.5 is a lot of points to spot the Commanders. What's your take, Tommy? Can the Commanders hang around, or you want to pass on this one? Are the Lions going to blow them out? What do you think?
No, I think the Lions are going to win, and I have a lot of respect for Jaden Daniels. He showed toughness, and that Washington team is very disciplined and coached very well. But I cannot take a stance against the Lions. We talked off air about one of the games I was going to tease. This is the other one. There's some 9.5s, there's some 9s out there. If you can find a 9, I think Circa was 8.5. If you can get that to 3, if you can get it to 2.5, even better. I think that's a really strong teaser opportunity with the Lions. If you can get that to 3 or lower, I think that's the way to go. I think they win. If you tell me pick a point spread side, yeah, I'm going to go Lions. But Jaden Daniels is very tough, and that team's coached very well.
I've thought, and I've said all along, that I thought that Philadelphia and Detroit were on a collision course in the NFC Conference Championship game. And generally, teams that win the game cover the point spread. So it leads me into the Rams game, which is kind of dangerous. It's a tough emotional spot after the Monday Nighter, traveling again. It's almost like 2 road games in a row for them. from L.A., dealing with the fire situation, going to Arizona, back to L.A., now you got to go to the East Coast. I don't think weather will be the factor in this game. The Rams' defense is good, but Philadelphia, it's not easy to win there. And so you were talking about teasing it, so you're looking at a Detroit Lion, Philadelphia Eagle teaser.
That's exactly it. If I can get the Eagles down to a pick 'em, I really like that. I think the Rams will give a good effort, but like you said, this is coming off an emotional spot, the travel. Jalen Hurts is not Sam Darnold, and this Philly defense is not the Vikings defense. So there's just a bunch of things you check off there that makes this a very tough spot for the Rams.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you were talking about Washington. That's it, Cam. Like, yeah, they look good, but Ford Field is a hell of a lot harder place to play than that stadium in Tampa Bay is.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Bucs aren't known, that's a tough place to play. The crowd was good. They actually showed up, and they were into it. But I'm just stating, like, Ford Field is a real bitch to deal with. The Buffalo Bills, my Buffalo Bills, Tommy, nobody likes them. I was just talking about some quotes, unnamed NFL executives in The Athletic, and Baltimore are going to be too physical for them. The same thing's going to happen what happened earlier. The Bills can't stop the run. They can't stop Derrick Henry. And the Bills open up as one of the – I find it interesting. Me and Brady, we talked about this with Brady Cannon last night. He said, yeah, but Brady brought up a good point. He goes, you know what? Because I said, what do you make of the Ravens being favorites now? He goes, well – let's not forget the market and the odds makers actually open the Bills as the favorite. Mm-hmm. So, because it's baffling to me that the Bills are getting no respect for being on their home field. I don't think home field means 3 points anymore, and I get that home field doesn't mean as much as it used to. But the fact of the matter is, Tommy, the Buffalo Bills are 9-0 on this field this year. The Bills are, like, they do feed off the energy of that crowd. Yet here we have Baltimore as a favorite in the game. Are you another wise guy that says, yeah, Baltimore should be favored in this game?
The power numbers I generate for my own use has this game exactly at even. Nothing separates these two. It's kind of like Paulie and Goodfellas when he's shaving the garlic with the razor,
Yeah, I watch it. It's super thin.
Yeah, handicapping this game, you're just it's a razor thin.
Or we should say De Niro versus De Niro in the new movie coming out where he plays both characters. There's nothing to separate the two of them, Frank Costello and Genovese.
Yeah. The thing with this game, though, do you trust Josh Allen?
The Onions, that's good.
Do you trust Lamar?
I trust them both. I trust them both, Tommy. Like Allen,
I think they're both great, but I think Allen on his home field won't be denied. Yeah. I think this is a difference. And I think the colder, the better. I'm not going to say it's an advantage because people are like, oh, if it's cold, and snowy, etc. The Ravens run the ball. Lamar Jackson's from Florida, okay? I know he plays in Baltimore, but you know what I mean. I don't mind if it's super, super nasty weather. I think I think that's somewhat advantaged Buffalo a bit actually. But like you said, man, there's nothing. You know what I mean? It's almost like the Penn State Notre Dame game, Tommy. There's nothing to give between the two of them, Cam, and it came down to the last freaking field goal. Like there's nothing to give between these teams.
Baltimore came to Buffalo. It was ice cold. I remember freezing cold. Lamar was
and they scored 3 points. They scored 3 points. Yeah.
Yes. Why? Allen's from Wyoming. The guy, like he
No, he's from California. He played in Wyoming.
Played college at Wyoming, but he handles the cold well. He handles the cold really well. He can play in any condition with the laser beam. Lamar's got a big arm too, but I trust Allen, Gabe. And you know what? I noticed your coach. He's going for it on 4th down. McDermott doesn't want to be that, like the way they lost to the Chiefs and stuff. It's a different vibe. It's like, we're going to go out, we're going all in, and we're going to find ways to get it done. He's kind of like Dan Campbell Jr. now. Like, they go for it all the time, and it's working. I like it.
What do you think? What's your final verdict, Tommy?
I think the Bills' defense, which I had questions about going into the playoffs, has shown me enough that they'll be disruptive. I know about the running game in Baltimore, and I know about Lamar Jackson, but I'm going to go with the Bills here. I just think the intangibles, everything else being even, the home field. I did look at something. This will be the coldest game at kickoff that Lamar Jackson has ever played in, based on the forecast. 32 degrees. He's been, if it's 32 degrees or lower, he's 3-1, but never played. Its scheduled kickoff is about 24 degrees. He's never played in that cold of a game. Will it make a difference? I don't know, but I do know the Bills step up in cold or snow or whatever it is, and to me, that's why I lean that way. Plus, everyone's saying Baltimore. Oh, Baltimore, Baltimore. Yet this line is right there at a pick 'em. Circa's got him at a pick 'em. It's -1. It's not clicking up. You're not going to get more than 1 point if you're going with Baltimore. So I'm going to go Bills.
I'm nervous, fired up for this game. All right, Tom, we got about a minute and a half. It's great catching up with you. What do you think about the Monday night national championship game?
I'm a Notre Dame fan, have been for a very long time, and I am ecstatic that they're there. But I think Notre Dame will cover this game. I really do. I think, whenever you have a defense like that, you have a chance. But I just don't think they're going to be able to beat Ohio State. If they can disrupt Will Howard, because when he gets bothered, there's problems. He showed it against Penn State earlier in the year, against Michigan, obviously. So if they can get to him and get into his head, they're going to have a chance. But Notre Dame wins if that defense just goes nuts like they have. That's the only chance they have to win. But I think they'll cover. It's too many points.
Our boy Tommy Cam, he's like our boy the mailman. Tough life. Tommy's a Dodger fan. Notre Dame. You're going to throw the Lakers on top of it.
I'm a New York Giants fan too, though. I'm a New York Giants fan. That's a little rough.
That's cool, Tommy. You got to have one team in the
busting your balls, yeah.
Yep. Gotta have one.
Yeah, I've been called the front. They're like, "Oh, you like the Bills in Michigan?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like that my whole life." I'm like, the Dodgers and Michigan. I'm like, "Yeah, try being a Bills fan since the '70s. Hasn't been fun."
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people to bust them, and everybody else in between. All right, I'm doing something good for the community here right now. So I'm watching, and hey, I'm losing this bet, but and this is classy in the Vancouver Canucks for doing this, so I'm going to support it. I just got to do this live. They got the 50-50 raffle going on. They got the 50-50 raffle going on for the Vancouver Canucks, and they're giving they're giving the money to the L.A. Fire Fund. All right, so they'll be donating the money to Los Angeles, which is cool of the Canucks to do. But if you win, you get to keep half the money.
Yes,
I see. It's $283,000 right now. So I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to donate $100, and I am getting. This isn't bad too. I get 500 tickets for $100.
Wow, that's a wicked deal.
There's only 19,000 people in the arena.
The game I went to with George, $20. I got like one ticket and I lost it too. What a stooge I was. Hey, George, probably a winner too. Somewhere on the ground somewhere. 50-50. Have you ever won?
It's annoying filling all this.
Close? I was beside a guy once. No. The guy beside me, and I couldn't.
Oh, that's true. You mean have I? Oh, yeah. But the thing is, I guess. But the thing is, Cam, it's not by your seat, right? It's by when you bought the ticket.
Correct.
But yeah, it's happened to me before actually that somebody same thing. Somebody 3 or 4 seats next to me once won, but it's not proportioned by. It's not like you were 2 seats off.
No.
It's when he's buying the ticket
numbers
in the hallway or whatever.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so let me finish off this this purchase here. So you know what? I donate $100 and I get. I'm being cheaper though. I gave $500 to the Canucks charity kids fund last year.
Oh, $100 is a very. Hey, don't sell yourself short. That's good. And 50 is going to the LA Fire. That's great, man.
I had a better year last year. I was in a better mood.
yes. The Canucks
they
were
caught me in a good moment.
Year.
I'm like,
yeah.
And that's the thing, Vancouver. I mean, if you guys weren't losing 3-0, I'd be a little bit more gentle. You know what I mean? Like,
good
that's
call.
why I didn't want to cheap out. I was like, because I was thinking 25 at first. I was like, $10 is not. That's just an insult. And I was like, 25, and I'm like, that's not a good contribution, 25. Then I was thinking, well, the Canucks are losing 3-0. You're not doing any favors.
Nope.
You're not helping the charitable cause, but plus this will be good karma for us. Watch, the Canucks will start to come back right now after this. All right, so speaking of coming back, the Houston Rockets have started to cut the lead a little bit. They were down big. It's they've cut the lead to 4 right now. Sacramento, though, for whatever reason, are now like 8.5 in the game. We got a bunch of college basketball going on here right now. Oregon State are up 11-7 on Gonzaga. They're getting 6.5 right now in game. Let's bring in George Kurtz. George, good to see you. George, are you on the LA Kings or the Vancouver Canucks right now?
Sorry, Gabe. I'm on the Kings. Vancouver's not playing very well. And they're getting, I mean, that score was 3-0 before I even knew what was going on, Kings. So I don't know how you feel, but I had to think the Canucks have to do a shakeup, and they got to do it soon.
Things are spiraling out of control a little bit with this team. I can't deny it. It's the bad law, the way they're losing right now. Like, things aren't getting better; they're getting worse. It's all the move that's going to come, if it does come, with the Canucks is JT Miller's going to be the one to get traded. They're not trading Pettersson, and Pettersson's not easy to trade. The dude makes 11 and
a lot of news here. The Rangers are hot after him.
Yeah, but there's also reports that Zibanejad didn't want to play for the Canucks. He wants to stay in the USA.
And I think if I'm the Canucks, I would want more than Mika.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Canucks, you know what, George? They've been linked, although it's funny because this is the deal. JT Miller doesn't get along with anybody, right? But so the whole thing about the Canucks of, the locker room, that's not the reason. They never should have let Zadorov go, guys. They got a big, nasty Russian defenseman last year. He brought an edge. The Canucks are laid back soft. They're like the city. Like, they're not.
They are.
Right? They don't, they got, Joshua's a tough dude. Sherwood competes hard. Garland is like 5'6". Like, they're not, and they got a bunch of Swedish dudes, and like Miller and Besser are sniper types, but they don't have that like mean edge to them, this team. And they had it. Like, the Canucks never had a guy. Like, Quinn Hughes is awesome, but remember, Zadorov is like, Edmonton sucks as a city. I hate it here. Like, they didn't have that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, guy with cheap shot, McDavid in the corner. He was just a mean son of a bitch. Right? And they want to pay him $6 million or whatever. And it's like, all right. And they replaced him with Desharnais from Edmonton. The guy's a pylon.
He is.
Darnay is a freaking pylon, this kid. Like, he's a terrible defender. I don't want to be a jerk, but he's a terrible, well, whatever. Who cares? I'm not being a jerk for saying he sucks. He sucks.
Well, look at the Leafs. The Leafs went out and got
That's why the Oilers let him go.
You need a guy like that. You need a guy who's like a sandpaper.
Yeah, like Chris Tanev, exactly.
Chris Tanev, the guy loses his teeth, pops him back in, ready to rock. That's the thing. That's why the Leafs are like they're little. Every team needs a guy.
Hell, even the Habs tonight when Armida lost his stick and you saw him hitting people. He says, "That's still not extra effort." But the Canucks, they got a bunch of they got a lot of talent. They're just missing something. So yeah, George, I think something is going to happen now. Right, and the whole deal is that it's Miller, and Miller's kind of this and that. So but I don't think he's the problem or anything. I just think this team needs to get tougher and suck it up. But I will say that Brock Nelson's name's come up a lot in Vancouver, that the Islanders, they're not trading Pettersson. So whatever. JT Miller will be the one that gets dealt maybe down the road. I don't think they want to do it. I think they want to start winning, but it's just not happening. And I brought it up, George. I told Cam this earlier. Thatcher Demko is not Thatcher Demko anymore. Nope. He isn't. And he wasn't when he came back before. He wasn't last year. These injuries have caught up to him, Kurtz. He's not the same goalie anymore.
Well, you still got Lankinen, so maybe you can still get away with that. I said JT Miller's interesting because I think he would bring back a nice hole, especially to a cup contending team. That team wouldn't be the Islanders, by the way, but he's a really good player. But he has been around the league.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, JT Miller has a no-trade clause in his contract, so he can be selective about it. And he already said, well, how about the Rangers? Yeah, well, yeah, good for you. They're...
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The Vancouver Canucks are getting 3.5 goals right now. It is minus 170. They're losing 3-0. They played much better here. Dude, they're shots on goal. It's 12-10. They got ambushed early. Like I said, Demko is slow, man. He's slow moving side to side. His lateral movements are slow. And it's one of these deals where you can't really blame him. The dude never plays. So it's his first game back again tonight, and you got to bite the bullet. I hate to say it, but if I was talking, I just would have started freaking Lankinen. I would have been like, dude, we're coming off a blowout loss the other night, and I know Lankinen started, but it wasn't his fault. But Demko's back, and they got to bite the bullet and get him into shape here. But I just don't know if Demko's the savior that people think he can be right now. Down 3-0. Everybody looks pretty sad and angry in the building right now. But cheap tickets will be cheaper next time I go to a Canuck game.
Good call.
The Kings,
Yep.
Sacramento Kings are now up 16 on Houston. Boy, they blew that open in a hurry. 77-61 right now. All right, we'll get to the football, but I wanted to get to this with George Kurtz. Major League Baseball win totals, Kurtz, have been posted, and I thought that I missed it or something because I'm always on top of this stuff from day one. I didn't miss it. We talked about it 2 nights ago. They came out 2 days ago. I was like, oh, my God, baseball totals are out. And most books have them posted right now. I know you've taken a look at them. What do you think about the Major League Baseball win totals, and what teams early catch your eye right now?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go back to the well with the Dodgers. I'm going to take we have 103.5 in New York, by the way, not 102, so we're going to win an extra game. But and by the way, I love you saying, I really hope the Dodgers sign Sasaki. Yeah, okay, Gabe. Like they really need him.
We need him. We need him. We need him.
Yeah, I mean, but the point is, they go to a 7-man rotation and it won't matter.
You're a Yankee fan. Settle down. You're a Yankee fan. It's not like you're a Marlin fan. You're a Yankee. It's like the rich calling the rich out here.
Both of you guys. It's like Mr. Burns and Elon Musk. Shut up, both of you. Yankees and Dodgers. Shut up.
Ease up, kid. I'm taking the Blue Jays over, okay? I'm going back to the Blue Jay well.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, are you?
76 and a half.
76 and a half.
Oh, now, 76 and a half. Holy.
Yeah, it's right to score. 76 and a half.
So, you're down with the Jays, huh?
I went down with Flames.
They need to sound. They're going to sign Santander or what? Like we've been hearing this for the past 2 weeks. Like what's up with that?
There's a lot of noise here. They're heavy on Alonso. That they're close with Alonso. You know,
give me a break.
Mets fans.
There's always noise that they're close with everybody. That's the thing.
Yeah. They don't get anybody. That's the problem. They don't get anybody. I get it.
Who's the guy feeding these guys stories about the Jays being close? They're wrong every time. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, stop saying they're in the mix when they're not in the mix. They don't get anybody.
I think it's media members that are trying to make Shapiro and Atkins look bad because there's no way the Jays are leaking this stuff. They keep losing. Yeah. Like, all they're doing is it's not the Jays leaking this. I don't know. I think other teams are probably just making it up. Oh, by the way, the Jays offered us $200 million. Just saying, you know what I mean? That's up. They're just making it up. You know what I mean? Like I
would be floored. If the Jays get Sasaki, I'd be floored. I can't see that. He's got to be going to the Padres over the Dodgers here. And what we heard this week that the Padres and Dodgers are looking to trade to get. The rumor. I should say the rumor. I think was. I'll say Passan, but I'm not dead sure who reported it. That the Dodgers and Padres are shopping.
They're trying to raise more money.
Trying to,
they're trying to raise more money.
How much could you possibly raise? Another $1 million, maybe?
The thing is, those foreign guys all get the same deal. The only thing is, you can make more money.
There's a limit to what he can make.
That's the thing.
But if he wanted the money so bad, then wait 2 years and be a free agent. And you can pay
exactly. Like that's for people wondering. Exactly, people wondering what's the. It's not a bidding war.
No,
the kid, like you said, like George said, he could have waited a couple of more years, and it would have been a bidding war.
Yeah,
he forfeited his right. Like he's too young. He doesn't have the Japanese experience yet, etc. Not to get too detailed with the CBA and everything. Long story short, the kid's only 23. He's not 25. So he's under like this rookie pool, international pool limit. I think it's like $7 million, like you said, Kurtz, because they came in at $6 million.
Depends
like the
on
Dodgers.
The team.
Yeah, it depends on the team. The Dodgers and San Diego offered the exact same dollar amount to the cent. And Toronto offered like $1 million more. It was like 6.5 to 5.5. So it's not about money. I can't believe he's going to pick Toronto either. Toronto's a great city, but I just why would he pick the Blue Jays?
I just talked to a guy in the organization. They're trying to do this big thing, like a portion of this and that, because you guys talked about it. It's about the same contract. You can't do more. So the only way he can get stuff is through bonuses and extra deals outside of the salary. That's what they're saying. Who knows if
he's going to be a Dodger? He's going to be a Dodger.
Give me a break.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
SportsRage tonight, weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
I like Kurt's calling me out. Oh, we got to get Sasaki. Not to mention.
I love yes, George.
God.
But you're the fan too, George. You're talking about the Yankees like they're like the Oakland A's or something. You better settle down as well. You guys
I didn't mention the Yankees. I did not mention the Yankees once, by the way.
Yeah, you did. Like, the Dodgers with their plethora of riches. Well, both of you guys are 1 and 2. My team's nowhere.
Listen, the Yankees, I like their over. I think their over is 93.5. I think they'll get there. But the Yankee offense isn't there yet. You know, it's Yankees are hoping that their pitching's going to be great, and that Volpe, Wells take.
They do have a good staff. The Yankees. They have loaded up. I like the arms. I like the arms of the Yankees. They're going to be back. They're going to win some games. What do you think of the Mets at 91.5, Kurtz? And I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I read that. And it's just one sports book, but 66% of the World Series future tickets are on the Mets at BetMGM.
Wow. I don't think the Mets are even the best team in their division.
66%. Sorry, I need to take that back.
The Mets have Minaya, Senga, and that's it.
Who's their pitching staff?
Yeah, it's not going to
Minaya, Senga, Montas, Peterson, and Clay Holmes. And Clay Holmes, by the way, is not pitching more than, 120 innings. So they don't have enough. They made a huge mistake in my mind in Corbin Burns. All right, they needed an ace. They should have found the ace, and then I would have felt a lot better about them. I think they'll hit fine. I think they'll murder the ball, but that doesn't work in postseason. I don't think the Mets are the best team in their own division, more or less in the National League. The Dodgers are still better than them. I think the Phillies are still better than them. I think they might be better than the Braves. I don't think the Braves reached their over on the 93.5. I have major questions about them, about Acuna.
What about the White Sox? 49.5.
50.5? Oh, you guys different. I got 50.5.
I've seen 51.5, even the 49.5.
Yeah. But you look at that team, I mean, holy God, this is a bad team. Name me one starting pitcher real quick. Anybody. I couldn't have done it.
50 games. Come on.
Your starting pitchers, Jonathan Cannon, Thorpe, Martin Perez, Davis Martin, Sean Burke.
It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's hard. How are they going to win 50? Like 50 and 112 does not surprise me at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like that means
their only hitter is Louis Robert, and he's going to get traded. He'll be traded as soon as he does something.
There's Vancouver scores 3-1.
Yeah, there we go. Excellent.
I'm on the under in this game too.
Comeback begins. All right, let's get. I've circled a couple guys here, and like George said, this is you sort of look around. The different books are going to have slightly different numbers, and when it comes to win totals, it really does matter. All right, like a win here or a win there can make a massive difference in the world. If you guys can get my best bet Major League Baseball early win totals up here on the screen, I'd appreciate it. And we're going to start off with a low point here. Still waiting. Still waiting. No, not the best of X.
What's the best of X? What is it today?
My Major League Baseball win total best
right
bets. All right, thank you.
There they are.
All right. Sounds like they're having a little argument or a dispute there in the booth. So you guys figure it out.
Yeah.
You guys figure it out. All right. So thank you. Leave it up. Oakland Athletics are no more. They're now just the Athletics. They're not putting Sacramento in the name of their team. But I think this team wins 71 or more baseball games, actually. Listen, they won 69 games last year, and we saw that they got the bump. We saw that they played well in the second half of the season last year. They showed some life, and they're going to get a bump from going into Sacramento. There's going to be an enthusiastic crowd base there. Not to mention, the A's have they really are a good young organization, this team. Like, their owner might be a jackass, but their organization on the Kings just score right away.
Yeah, 4-1. I know.
So,
wow.
The A's, George, have done a nice job, bro. Like, I know you're a numbers guy, George, but they got a lot of good young players. People just don't realize it. Like, Rooker's a badass, number one. He's going to hit 1 million home runs in this new stadium. Lawrence Butler's a freaking stud. All right, like you look at this team, they've got their number one prospect in here, the Wilson kid, the shortstop. He only played 28 games at the end of last year, so you never really know how these young phenoms are going to do. But he is their number one prospect. And Fangraphs has him listed to hit 288 this year, George. He's a contact hitter. This A's team, bro, like I said, playing in a new stadium, playing in a new city, no more uncertainty and stuff like that. They're living in Sacramento for the next 3-4 years. Like, yeah, they're going to Vegas, but that's down the road. I think these kids on this team could just sort of settle in this stadium, and it's not an overpowering division either. I think 70.5 is a good look for this Athletic team. You agree or disagree?
I agree. I like what you said here. They are a good young team. The pitching staff, by the way, is not terrible either. They've got some guys who are good. Severino just signed there. I think they might assign somebody else to get above the floor, I believe. You got Jake, the ex-Yankee J.P. Sears, solid left-hander there. So listen, they need more. They're not going to be a playoff team. I don't see them going anywhere near 500, but I think they can get to mid-70s. I do. And the key thing there is there's no great team in this division. I mean, Seattle is probably the best team, but they can't really hit. Houston, they have their issues here. They got to make some moves here. I don't have much.
We should know.
Next one to lift the Angels, though.
Oakland won 69 games last year, right?
Yep.
So I'm asking for 2 more wins with a team that's starting to come together and with a bunch of players that were kind of rookies last year. If you look at all these A's players, they were all called up 2 years ago in September, right? So they all sort of have a month under their belt, and then last year they got a full season under their belt. And now it'll sort of start to continue. To me, they're almost like they're like a Baltimore Orioles here. This team, right? They're like the Orioles were like 2 years ago. They're starting to come on this Athletic team. It sucks for people in Oakland. Now they're spending money, and now they just signed a Japanese prospect too, the number one high school prospect. The kid just skipped everything. You got $1 million signing bonus to sign with the A's. So the A's are making moves right now as an organization. I get it with the Angels. I can understand people going, oh, my God, the Angels. But, if you look at the Angels, I'm counting, Kurtz, that one of these times that Mike Trout will actually stay healthy.
That's a big gamble.
That's my long time now.
That's one of my deals that, you know what? He's got to, one of these years, they have to actually have something fall into place for them. The Angels also do have a lot of young talent. And I like their signings in the offseason. You bring in Kikuchi. You bring in Travis d'Arnaud. You bring in Kyle Hendricks. You bring in Kevin Newman. They're a deeper team right now, this Angels team, mixed with the players that they already have in a manageable division. They won 63 last year, so this is a little bit of a bump that I'm looking for here to get to 72. but I'm buying in. I say that the Angels are going to be a competitive team this year. Similar like what Kurt just said about the A's. Like, get me to 73, 74, whatever, 75, I could see them at. I think the Angels are going to be better than people think. I think the Detroit Tigers, guys, is a little light at 83.5. I think this team is not a fluke from last year. It'll continue. 83.5 is a light number, I find. San Diego at 89.5 as well. I mean, this is a damn good baseball team. Last year, they had 1 million injuries, and they were still super competitive. And another thing with San Diego is we know they're aggressive. Like, they'll make a move midseason. They're going to do something. Like, they're not just conceding the division to the Dodgers. And there's such a big gap. Like, put it this way. The Dodgers' win total is 102.5 to 103.5. I think they're going to get there, but if you ask me, are they going to win the division by 13.5 games? I'll say no. I think San Diego's a good baseball team, Kurtz.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll get there. I might worry a little bit about the ownership problems there and what the trickle-down effect that has. I also want to know where Sasaki ends up. Sasaki ends up here, I'm going to like this a hell of a lot more. I like all your numbers. The only one I wouldn't do.
Are these all overs? So everything's over. Athletics over, Angels over, Tigers over. 5 overs.
Yeah. The only one I don't like is the Angels. I don't see the Angels 71.5. There's a lot of hope and prayers. Trout hasn't played more than 80 games once in the last 6 years. I mean, I don't see him playing enough there. And the rest of that team.
You've no little faith, Kurtz. Captain Sean says no. Hold on, Kurtz. We'll get you out of there. We'll get Julio.
Under 80.5.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP-caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Shout out to everybody joining us on SiriusXM channel 159. We're live on X right now as well with a video stream and chat. Ken in the chat asked, what is an octopus? What does it mean when they set a player to score an octopus? Thanks. An octopus, Ken, is incredibly rare. You don't see it often, but Jalen Hurts actually did it. Jalen Hurts has done it. An octopus is when when a player scores a touchdown, and then the same player scores the 2-point conversion after the touchdown. They call it an octopus because of the 8 points. So it doesn't happen often. We've talked about this a couple of years ago. This is a new, obviously, they only added the 2 years ago, et cetera, but this is one of these more modern type of sports bets. And I remember a couple of years ago, it was at the Super Bowl, and they had it, and nobody knew what the hell it was. People were like, "What the hell is an octopus?" And and here it is: any player to score an octopus. So, any player to score an octopus. So this isn't the divisional rounds of any game here. No is minus 700. You know what? I'm glad you brought this up, Ken. You got me peeked in. You got me interested in this. Any player to score an octopus, yes, plus 450. Thing is, and you can bet it like specific games too, but so we're getting all 4 games.
Josh Allen.
Well, the thing is, you got Josh Allen that could score the touchdown, and then they could give it to him. He could keep it again for 2 potentially. Lamar Jackson potentially could, and the whole thing is, Jalen Hurts has actually done it before. Like if you know what I mean, if they're on the 1 yard line, and they do the brotherly shove, that's what they do. Hurts scores, and then if they have to go for 2. They probably do the brotherly shove again for the 2-point conversion. So, yeah, you're getting plus 450 for an anytime octopus. Then you can do it any player to score an octopus on Saturday, plus 750. So, hey, you got Jaden Daniels too, Cam. Here's a potential. Like, basically, they're all a potential except for Goff and Stafford. So you're getting 6 out of the 8 quarterbacks. 6 out of the 8 quarterbacks, legitimately, it could happen. You know what I mean? It has to, will they go for 2? Will they be aggressive? Will they have to go for 2 at some point? That's why it's kind of rare, but it's plus 450. If you just want to do it for Saturday's games, you get plus 750, yes. If you just want to do it for Sunday's games, you get plus 850, yes. So, you know what? Only because you brought it up right now, and if it happens, I'm going to throw a bottle through the screen and saying, son of a bitch, we talked about it and I didn't bet it. So I'll sprinkle on the yes at plus 450 in any one of the games. Here's one. Washington Commanders over under. This is the Commanders and Lions game. Over under 2.5 4th down successful conversions.
Over.
But it's minus 170 to the over, plus 140 to the under. And the reason, Cam, you look, because usually it wouldn't be 2.5 this, but you got Dan Campbell, who's a psychopath, and you've got Dan Quinn, who was super aggressive and went for it on 4th down 2 or 3 times last week as well. So, minus 170 to the over there. All right, we got Big Card Julio, Big Head Julio in the house. Sasquatch, what's up, Julio?
Hey, Sasquatch. I got to tell you, Gabe, I'm watching golf. You got to get like a dead ringers. The only guy that's got a bigger melon than Julio is JJ Spawn. And you guys kind of look like each other, too. My girlfriend's like, look at the size of that guy's head. I go, you haven't seen Julio's head, but it's big.
I think the beard makes his face look bigger, too. But
if he headbutted you, he'd split your face.
We've asked you, but you don't know what size baseball cap you are, Julio. I got to believe it's pretty large. You need like a large hat.
8.5.
I grew up 7 5/8, and then the last time I tried it on, it was big. So I need to get Bruce Bochy's size.
Oh yeah, Bruce.
You know what though? I find it weird with baseball hats too. Like none of them fit properly. Like they're all like sort of weird. I don't know. Like, or your head shrinks, or I don't know, the hats change or whatever.
It's good that you're bald because the hat always feels like when I have a big puffy hair, doesn't whatever. That's the whole problem, right? Like. At least you, Gabe, with your dome, it's consistent because you're not going to have that like big buff up at the top and stuff.
I don't like new. I don't like the new modern baseball hats. They're too big. I
agree.
The brims or whatever. The proportions aren't well. So the Houston Rockets have stormed all the way back and taken a 94-92 lead on the Sacramento Kings. This game's been all over the place. And there's still 10 minutes left. 94-92. In-game totals 236.5 right now. The Clippers rolled the last night. They rolled the Brooklyn Nets. They murdered them. They set like records. They're doing it again. Clippers are rolling the Blazers now, 86-61 right now. And Oregon State, though. Oregon State are actually leading Gonzaga outright. 35-31 for Oregon State with under 3.5 minutes left in the first half right now. Julio, any late-night college basketball action for you?
No, I just had my heart ripped out of me with the Tampa Bay Lightning in regulation. Of course, they'd give up a goal midway through the third and then win in the shootout. So still picking up the pieces from that defeat.
Speaking of which, actually, the Edmond and Julio's in Colorado. The Edmonton Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche are tied at 3 right now with 13 minutes left in this hockey game. I'm on the Colorado Avalanche to win, so let's hope we're pulling for an Avs win here, Julio.
And what are they, minus 125, so pretty much a pick 'em, depending on your book in the in-game market. So, yeah, let's go Avs. Go Avs, go. Bernie, you want to talk about good mascots, Cam. Bernie the St. Bernard, the Avalanche mascot.
I like St. Bernards. That's great. I remember the last St. Bernard corporate spokesperson was St. Bernard for Neocitrin, where he saved the guys who fell off their sled. And the St. Bernard saves them with Neocitrin when they fell down the mountain. Yeah.
That's an interesting story, Cam. Thanks.
That's a great story. He's a dog, and he brought them the medicine. And he was a St. Bernard. Anyway, Julio, I've got a picture of you on Twitter. Yeah. Hey, actually, the Little Hobo guy died a while ago.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I thought the Avalanche mascot, don't they have like a snowman type of dude? I don't know. Am I dreaming now?
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. The Beavers starting to pull away a little bit. Now they got a 7-point lead on Gonzaga, 44-37 right now with under 2 minutes remaining in the first half. In-game totals up to 170.5. You know what? If the Beavers get another little bit bigger of a lead here, even though the Beavers were the play getting the points before the game, Gonzaga getting plus points will be the play here. they'll dial it up in the second half. They'll adjust. It'll be, it's a tough building to play in. The building's going to get all fired up, but it's going to be hard to close the Zags out. And right on cue, Gonzaga just hit a 3-point shot. In fact, why wait? I'm going to jump in on Gonzaga. All I got to do is win the basketball game. And the total's 170.5. You know what? I'm going to jump in on the over here. Gonzaga do play a lot of really wild, high-scoring games this year. So let me jump in here. Gonzaga money line and over 170.5. All right, Julio, we're up against it with the clock here. What do you like in the National Football League this week? What are your best bets, or what do you got for us?
We got a lot in the shopping bin, so let's first look at the Los Angeles Rams +6 at Philadelphia, and I think the Rams could get the upset +225. If you're giving me the coaching handicap, I'm taking Sean McVay over Sirianni any day of the week. So Rams money line +225, +6, shop around. Patrick Mahomes 2 or more touchdowns -155. And I also like the a 2-team teaser, 7-point teaser, -145 shop around. I tried to do the parlay price, but it was over $2, so no thank you. Chiefs, Lions, -1.5. Chiefs, Lions, -2. Soccer this weekend, I like Barcelona -1 in the spread against Getafe. Real Madrid played today in extra time to Celta Vigo. They take on Las Palmas this weekend, a bad side in Spain, but +3 on the handicap. If you're playing extra time midweek and then have to play a couple days later, I could see Real Madrid just putting the a little ease, cruise control in this match. So +3 Las Palmas, -138. Also in the NFL, a 16-1 same game parlay. Josh Allen to score an anytime touchdown. Lamar Jackson anytime touchdown. Dalton Kincaid anytime touchdown. 16-1.
Big card Julio living up to his moniker. If you can, Tommy, actually, I know you guys had a lot of stuff going on. Let's do the best of X on the way out here. I wanted to get to that before we're done here, as I found it to be pretty. This was just too good not to get to. We have to get to this. Hey, let me know when you got the best of X. Let's roll this. And while they get it ready, all right, here it is ready, and we'll get Julio's national championship pick. But yeah, roll the best of X. That was adventure number 2 here. All right, so now we need the actual tweet
video
part up.
There we go.
No, that's not the one either.
Bob Uecker?
No, that's not the one. Yeah, here we go. Man.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. So we got Riley Leonard on Notre Dame and Ohio State. We're the two main teams that to just publicly display our faith the most. I truly believe that Jesus was looking over both our shoulders throughout the season and put these two teams on a pedestal for a reason. So Riley Leonard believes that Jesus was the one that put Ohio State and Notre Dame into the national championship game. And listen, I love Jesus, praise Jesus, but I think it has more to do with Ohio State spending $20 million on players and having a stacked roster more so than any sort of holier-than-thou biblical work. As far as Notre Dame...
Ohio State's not even a religious school, Gabe. What's
that's another thing. You think of faith. So what? Was it like a religious right for them to spit on Michigan players at the football game 2 months ago? Was it religious of Ryan Day to basically threaten 100-year-old Lou Holtz? What do they do to Ohio State? It's like, come on. Religion and Ohio State and faith. Who do they try to kid here? And listen, Notre Dame, on the other hand, I'm like, maybe there is divine intervention because Riley Leonard isn't that good, and somehow he's in a national championship game here. So there might be some divine intervention at play here.
I just think Marcus Freeman is a good coach. Look at him. He looks like a kid, like this guy.
He's a goofy kid, but he's hard not to. He's a happy kid. He's hard not to like. He's good for him. He's going to lose, but